Hi, yes, hello. It's me again. This is the intro to the video. Let's move on. So for this video, we're going to be talking about red borders other than seasonal ones. Why, you may be asking? Because I made a dedicated video on all these seasonal weapons that you should / must have already on the channel. Here's a thumbnail. I will leave a video for that in the pinned comments below. But the reason for that is, by the way, in case you didn't know or didn't hear, Bungie made a change to seasonal weapons where you can focus a red border in each helm vendor daily starting next Tuesday for when this video probably will be out, and you can get them every day and craft them before Lightfall. So I made a whole dedicated video for that. For this one, we're going to talk about the red borders outside of the seasonal ones that you should craft if you can before Lightfall. Alright, let's get started. Let's get started with our boy Zur. So, there's the Maternity Weapons. Now, at the end of the day, these are RNG drops to the fullest extent. However, you can get one guaranteed red border per week from just doing dares. And if you happen to have good luck and you have the crafting materials for them, I think out of all of them, in order, I would go after the swords first for just Eager's Edge, good speed tech to have, never a bad thing. Also, swords obviously are good in the game, of course. And then the other thing besides the swords I would go after is the Wastelander Shoddy, just for great 1-2 punch builds. You can use this on a Titan or a Hunter. Hunters particularly with the whole Assassin Scout combination blow build. In case you're curious, I do have a video of that on the channel. I think both of these types of weapons are very, very solid, and if you have the materials for those only, then go after that. If you have a bunch of materials saved up for Resonant Elements, and you have good RNG to get all of these dares weapons, then the others are solid as well. Retrace Path, great trace with Incandescent. BXR, good in PvE and PvP. And then we have Pardon Our Dust, which is a good option for blinding nades if people don't have like a perfect ignition code god roll and you like blinding nades over wayframes. I personally like wayframes though, but that's, you know, personal preference. So that's what I would do with Dare's weapons. Alright, next let's talk about world drops. These first two are in the Throne World for the Witch Queen. So Point of Inquiry is a scout rifle. It's a void. You can get in the Throne World through Lost Sector, story missions, ranking of Finch, etc. Same thing with the second weapon I'm going to talk about here in a second. Inquiry is a nice scout rifle that's unique in having adaptive munitions on it. If you don't have a Doom of Chelchis from Kingswall, if you don't raid, this is a solid option. So normally people are probably going to be like, well, adaptive munitions, match game's going away from endgame. Do we really need this? No, you don't really need it. However, I will say that in content that has champions in the game, adaptive munitions is a nice second place to using Arbalist. If you don't want to keep using Arbalist for literally everything in the game, you can just run this with adaptive munitions if it's a scout rifle season for champ mods, and then you will two-shot any barrier champion with this perk on your scout. That's how good it is. Not god tier or anything, but if you're tired of using Arbalist, or maybe if they even nerf Arbalist, this would be a solid option to get. The second weapon is Fel Teradiddle. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that right, but we're going to go with it. It is the bow from the Throne World that you can farm the same way as the scout rifle. It can give you Archer's Temple and Explosive Head, which I am very high on in regards to bows. So if you don't have something like the Garden Bow with the perfect god roll, again, if you don't raid, this is a nice, easy way to get this weapon crafted and just put those two perks on it for a good kinetic slot bow. Finally, these three are world drop / introductory red border quests. So first off, we have the shotgun. I'm just going to say Rag D because I never know how to pronounce this right. It's the kinetic shotgun that you can get literally basically anywhere in the game where world drops come. Prime engrams, activities, etc. And this is a shoddy that can be a good replacement for Wastelander if you're having terrible RNG, not getting all 5 red borders in dares. And it's also decent in PvP. That's pretty much the extent of the shotgun. I just wanted to mention that. The other two are basically introductory quests, which is the Amit AR2 auto rifle. Basically just an auto rifle that can roll incandescent. It's decent, not anything great, but decent for new players. And then Taipan, obviously one of the best weapons currently in the game for the heavy slot. It's not quite cataclysmic, but it's a great replacement for a void slot linear for current Phantomite stuff. Phantomite might not really be a thing in Lightfall, but Taipan overall is still a good weapon. It has triple tap and it has Vice Stinger, so it's still very good until linears are going to get hit in the ground, potentially going into Lightfall, but we don't know for sure. Also, it only takes 2 to craft Taipan, so it's very, very easy, and you should just look out and get it done going into Lightfall just in case. Next up is dungeon weapons, and by weapons, I mean literally just one, because the other weapon you can craft from dungeons is complete butt cheeks. I'm talking to you, Epicurean. That weapon is Fixed Odds, the LMG from Duality. So, some people might be like, Fixed Odds? from Menagerie? That gun is trash. What do you mean? Well, if the gun is trash, why does my gun have this many levels on it? Hold, please. Real talk, on any half-decent Solo 3.0 build, this gun absolutely shreds through ad wave content. Dungeons, nightfalls, raid encounters where there's a lot of ads, etc. This gun just blows through everything, and all the fireworks go up when you just shoot like one thrall in the head. I love this gun. As you saw, I have a metric Evton levels on it, like 240 something, and it's enjoyable still to this day. It kind of got a backseat when retrofit was at full power, but now the retrofit is back down to getting nerfed to regular volatile rounds. Fixed odds is shining again with its just ad clearing ability, and I 100% guarantee you will love this gun if you craft it. By the way, when this video is out, Duality should be either already out as the weekly rotator or will be at the next reset after this video is out, and you should absolutely go farm it if you can, particularly because you can also farm armor in Duality from Keitel, which is basically the best god roll armor in the game. So 2 for 1, highly recommend fixed odds. Alright, the last section we have is raids. But before we talk about raid drops, there's 85% of you that are watching this video right now that are not subscribed for some reason. Why don't you want to subscribe? It's free, and you get 2 extra inches on your dong. What are you waiting for? It's the best deal on the internet. Okay, let's talk about Vault of Glass now. So, VOG is not something where you can just craft your weapons outright and go to the Enclave. However, it does have a spoil system where you can buy guns to get your god roll, especially on the Master Rotator, which, by the way, is going to be next week from when this video is out also, and you can get some pretty good weapons out of it. First up, we have Vision of Confluence, still one of the best scouts in the game, with a combination of Rewind rounds and Firefly, extremely solid. I still think it is one of the top scouts in the game. Obviously, Fatebringer is also up there with Explosive Payload Firefly. I don't think I need to mention that to 99% of people that are watching this. Next up, we have Heathen's Vengeance, one of the best rocket launchers in the game currently, especially on solar builds with like a Solar 3.0 Well Warlock, can roll Overflow, Demo, Vorpal, Autoloading, etc. Really good rocket launcher, and if you can, farm Master Gatekeeper for a good roll going into Lightfall, because it's just one of the best. Okay, now we're in actually raid territory where you can farm red borders, so let's go with Vow Disciple this time. In Vow, I'm just going to get straight to the MVP, Cataclysmic. Best heavy in the game right now, just absolutely dunks on basically every boss in the game. The only time it's not number 1 is where it's maybe a very, very short DPS time encounter, like something like 8 tracks. Outside of that, it just blows everything out of the water, not even close. Now, yes, linears are probably going to get a hit going into Lightfall because they're going to change the heavy meta, but we don't know exactly what that is, and until we do, Cataclysmic is still number 1 in the game. So, obviously, go craft this thing. Next up, we of course have Forbearance, because if I don't mention it, people are going to take my head off. Forbearance is just one of the best specials in the game, outright, period. I don't think anybody's really going to argue it. Chain Reaction, Ambitious Assassin, Wayframe GL, free kills out the wazoo in a special slot. I don't think I need to mention anything else about it. It's insanely good, and you can farm this from the Caretaker or Rolk encounter, depending which one you find less boring. Moving on, Insidious and Submission are both pretty good primary weapons from the raid as well. I'm not going to say they're anything groundbreaking, but they are solid options if you don't happen to have really good pulse rifles or SMGs in your slots already. Submission has Overflow Frenzy, among other things, and Insidious has a bunch of things to use with Demo, Adaptive Munitions, Adrenaline Junkie, and so on. Both very solid weapons, and that's pretty much all I'll cover for Vow the Disciple. Some people might say, well, what about Deliverance? I feel like Riptide is extremely far ahead of that fusion, and given how Shaxx just spits out engrams these days, and you can focus Riptide, I feel like that's the better option there. And then, well, Lubra's Ruin is probably like the worst glaive we have in the game currently, so yeah, let's move on. Alright, now we have Deepstone Crypt. So I'm sure 95% of people already know about these 2 weapons that I'm going to mention, but for newer players, Heritage and Succession are one of the best shotguns/snipers this game has ever seen. To this day, they still get use for their great perks and unique nature. Succession with Reconstruction, Vorpal, Reconstruction Recombination, Left from Gold Vorpal, yada yada, the list goes on. It has so many good rolls to use. I personally have 3 crafted Successions because of its just variety use in the game. And a Heritage, Reconstruction, Focus Fury is probably the way to go going forward, depending on situations where maybe shotguns could get some PvE meta going maybe in the future. Not really a slug meta, but we'll see how it goes. I still think Heritage is an extremely solid shotty to have in a kinetic slot if you're not going for like 1-2 punch builds. Now, I'll be completely blunt with you guys. Posterity and Trustee, not even worth farming. Literally, just go to Taniks each week, use your 1 weekly red border on either of those things. They're honestly not worth farming your sanity. Trustee, it has incandescent. Whoop-de-doo. You can get a world drop scout rifle that's also solar and also has incandescent in the game. Nothing special. And also farming security is... Posterity, same situation. Has volt shot, cool, whatever. Other weapons have volt shot. Also 180 hand cannon, pretty trash. And the encounter takes forever to farm, especially if you're doing challenge. Again, so just buy them at the end from Taniks each week. You're not going to miss out on anything on those. Finally, we arrive at the heavy weapons at Taniks. So we have commemoration and bequest. First up, commemoration, I think, is probably the second best LMG in the game right now. Currently, me personally, I like fixed odds more, because it has field prep, insane reserves, incandescent just blows everything out the water. But I can totally see why some people would like commemoration more, especially if using void builds. I think it is a really good LMG, especially with sub and killing tally. Maybe some people like reconstruction, whatever it may be. Either way, it is a very good LMG to have, especially if you love running Void 3.0 with like Hunters, for example, and it's worth crafting, no doubt. Then we have Bequest. For people that have followed me for a long time, you probably know I have very high praise for Bequest for a bunch of reasons. Really solid sword, has perks like Thresh Surrounded to get your super really quick and also blow through enemies. You may have seen me do like 1 minute lost sectors with these in the past, so you know how good Bequest is. It also has the highest impact in the game for a sword tied with Lament, not counting Crown Splitter, because Crown Splitter may have 2 more impact, but it has the speed of a snail on top of a turtle on top of a stack of dynamite and going in the opposite direction. Translation, Bequest is better, in my opinion. It is really solid. Also rolls other things like Relentless and Assassin's Blade. You could also put Unrelenting Chain Reaction on it if you wanted for just ad clearing capabilities. And I would highly recommend that you pick up this sword if you can for Deepstone. So now we have Kingswall, the last raid we're going to talk about. It's a little bit unique in regards to the other raids. So it has a spoil system like the other ones. It has red borders like the other ones. However, in this raid, if you do Master Oryx and use your spoils on the weapons at the end that you unlocked, you can actually get additional red borders for those weapons, and you won't be on a weekly lockout where you only get 1 each. Now, it's not a great chance to get these red borders, I'll give you that, but you can still spend your spoils to try to get them faster than normal. So with that being said, which weapons are actually good? Well, in this raid, I think most of these weapons have a use for one thing or another somehow in the game. For example, Doom and Chelchis, as I mentioned earlier, is a great other version of Pointed Inquiry, except it has better damage perks to put on it. It actually has multiple damage perks where you can put in column 3 and 4. It also has adaptive munitions, like I mentioned, for Barrier Champs in a Scout Rifle season for armor mods. Then you have Smiter Moraine. I think it's a solid kinetic pulse rifle slot. Demo Firefly is my go-to, one of my favorite weapons in the game. It was my favorite weapon for a kinetic slot in D1 next to Fatebringer. Defiance of Yasmin in its current state isn't really looking good in PvE. However, PvP-wise, I see a lot of people still using it for various things in comp, trials, etc. So I'd probably make this just a PvP recommendation more than anything, but who knows going into Lightfall. Then we have Azuli's Bane, basically a solar energy slot Fatebringer. It's very high up there in being basically identical to it, except I think Fatebringer just feels a little bit better in the handling department, whatever it may be, just feels better. But Zuli's is very solid and a good option to have if you don't want to run Fatebringer kinetic slot, like you want to run, I don't know, Wither Horde, and then you want to run a Fatebringer in your energy slot. So, really good there. Next two, you know what? Midas Reckoning is just ass. I'm just going to say it. Probably the worst weapon in this raid. Yeah, it has Reservoir Burst. That's great. I'll just use my Plug 1. That just feels much better. That's just me being honest. Maybe in the future it'll be good. Who knows? But I don't recommend it now. Quilliam's Terminus is not a bad weapon at all. I think it's solid. However, it's just so far behind all the other LMGs like Fixed Odds, Commemoration, Retrofit, etc. that I don't really see it competing. It's a good weapon, but I wouldn't tell you to, like, you know, go out and rush for it. Just maybe buy one from Oryx at the end of the week each time, something like that. And that covers those weapons. That's all for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, as well as the seasonal weapon video too. I'm still going to be doing videos going up to Lightfall for other stuff. Lightfall prep guide, how to farm alloys, aka Dragon Ball, stuff like that. So, like, share, subscribe today. It does help the channel to get notifications from that bell. And link in the description below for my daily streams as well. And I'll catch you guys in the next video, alright? Goodbye.